Hey guys, today we're going to talk about something that hides in plain sight every time you sit down to enjoy a piece of chicken, the invisible fats that quietly sneak into your diet. Picture this. You're in a cozy kitchen somewhere in southern France, a plate of golden roast chicken in front of you, the crispy skin shimmering under the warm light. It smells heavenly, and you tell yourself, this can't be that bad. It's chicken, after all. But here's the thing, your fork might just be heading toward a tiny, delicious trap. And no, I'm not here to ruin roast dinners, but your heart might want me to have this conversation with you. Oh, and you probably wouldn't guess how good an egg can be for your brain, but that's a story for another day. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I love knowing how far our little food chats travel. Now, let's start looking for things you don't know. You slide the fork into that piece of skin, and the crunch is followed by the kind of juicy burst that makes you close your eyes in pleasure. It's almost unfair how good it tastes. But in that 1 square inch, you could be looking at more calories than a handful of almonds and far less of the heart-healthy fat. Chicken skin is a master at hiding saturated fat, the type that can raise your LDL cholesterol. When you combine that with certain cooking methods, especially frying, you create a double hit of calories and fat that most people don't account for. Think about when you deep fry chicken. The skin acts like a sponge, soaking up oil like it's on a mission. That's not just flavor, those are extra calories riding in quietly, turning a lean protein into something that could rival a fast food burger in energy load. And here's the sneaky part. Your body doesn't register liquid fat the same way it does solid food. You don't feel fuller, but you've already packed in more than you think. I once had a patient who swore she only ate healthy home-cooked chicken, but when we broke it down, every Sunday roast came with a generous helping of skin, a drizzle of butter, and a basting of olive oil. The result? Her light dinner had the caloric equivalent of a hefty slice of cheesecake. She laughed when I told her, but you could see the realization click in her mind. And no, I didn't take away her Sunday roast. I'm not that cruel. We just made small tweaks. Here's the part that's tricky. Fat isn't the villain here. You need it. It's essential for absorbing certain vitamins, for brain function, for keeping your skin healthy. The problem is when the type and amount tip too far. Saturated fats, in particular, can push your cholesterol in the wrong direction if they dominate your diet. And while chicken has less saturated fat than red meat, the skin still carries quite a load. Now, imagine this in the context of European dining culture. In France, you might get your roast chicken with a side of buttery potatoes. In Italy, maybe it's drizzled with herbed olive oil. In Spain, perhaps a rich, paprika-spiked sauce. All delicious, all adding more fat. And if you're eating like this 3-4 times a week, your body starts keeping score, especially your waistline and your arteries. One joke I often make with patients is that your heart doesn't care if the fat came from a croissant or a crispy wing, it's still extra work. They usually laugh, but it sticks with them. Because food marketing loves to play the lean protein card, making it easy to forget that preparation changes everything. Here's a mental picture for you. Strip the skin off a cooked chicken thigh, and you remove roughly 1/3 of its fat content. That's like taking the escalator down a floor instead of the stairs. You still get there, but with less effort for your body to process. It's such a small change, but over weeks and months, it can add up to real differences in how you feel and what your blood tests say. And I'm not telling you to swear off chicken skin forever. I mean, where's the joy in that? Food is meant to be enjoyed, not feared. But knowing what's in that delicious bite means you can make the choice deliberately. Maybe you enjoy the skin once a week. Maybe you swap it for a squeeze of lemon and a sprinkle of herbs the rest of the time. You get flavor, you get satisfaction, and your arteries get a little break. The truth is, those hidden fats aren't out to get you, they're just doing what they naturally do. It's our job to work around them, to make choices that let us enjoy the taste without paying the long-term price. And it starts with simply noticing. That's the quiet superpower in nutrition. Awareness before action. You know that feeling when you think you're doing everything right, grilling instead of frying, swapping creamy sauces for lighter dressings, and then you find out it's not quite as healthy as you thought. That's where healthy cooking can turn on you. The intentions are good, but the details are what make the difference between a meal that supports your heart and one that quietly adds to its workload. Let's start with one of the most common habits I see across Europe: marinating chicken in oil-heavy mixes. In Greece, it's a luscious bath of olive oil, lemon, and oregano. In Portugal, maybe it's peri-peri sauce with a generous glug of oil. Olive oil is healthy, yes, but it's also dense in calories. 2 tablespoons? That's about 240 calories before the chicken even hits the pan. And if you're basting as you cook, those calories double without you even noticing. Then there's grilling. Sounds perfect, right? It's practically the poster child for healthy cooking. But here's the twist. When you char the surface too much, you create compounds that, over time and in high amounts, aren't exactly friendly to your heart or your body in general. I'm not saying a little crisp is bad. I'm saying the blackened trend might deserve a second look. Plus, the more fat drips and burns on the grill, the more smoky, aromatic compounds cling to your food. Delicious, yes. A daily habit? Maybe not the best idea. In Italy, there's another classic: cooking chicken al forno with roasted vegetables. So far, so good until you add a layer of cheese or breadcrumbs on top. Suddenly, your light Mediterranean dinner becomes a calorie-rich feast. One patient once told me she switched from frying to baking, but she kept adding double cheese for flavor. We laughed when I told her she basically invented an oven-baked fried chicken in disguise. And sauces, oh, the sauces. From creamy mustard blends in France to rich mushroom gravies in Germany, they're the silent saboteurs. Even if you're pan-searing chicken with just a touch of cream or butter, that touch can translate into 50 to 100 extra calories per spoonful. The kicker? You rarely have just one spoonful. Here's a funny image. Imagine you're painting a wall, and you think you're using a thin coat of paint. But your brush is overloaded, and you keep dipping it back in the bucket. By the end, the wall is thick with layers you didn't plan. That's what happens with fats in cooking. You think you're being light, but your spoon, brush, or ladle tells a different story. Another overlooked factor is portion size. In Northern Europe, hearty portions are the norm, especially during colder months. A single-serving chicken breast might easily be 200–250 grams instead of the recommended 120–150 grams. More protein isn't bad, but when it's cooked with extra fat, it's a direct path to excess calories. You might be wondering, but isn't olive oil good for me? Isn't grilling better than frying? Yes and yes when done mindfully. The problem is not the method itself, but how we layer flavor on top of it. Cooking techniques don't exist in isolation. They're partners with ingredients. A grilled chicken breast with herbs and lemon? Fantastic. The same chicken slathered in oil-rich marinade and topped with a creamy sauce? That's a whole different nutritional profile. I once challenged a cooking class in Spain to make the same chicken recipe 2 ways, one with their usual oil and sauce amounts, and one with half the oil and a yogurt-based sauce instead. When we tallied the calories, the healthier version was over 350 calories lighter per plate. Nobody felt deprived. In fact, they were surprised at how much fresher it tasted. One participant joked that the lighter version tasted like vacation, which is probably the best compliment you can give a recipe. And here's the sciencey part. Fats aren't just energy dense. They also change how your body processes the rest of the meal. High-fat cooking can slow digestion, making you feel heavy. It can also blunt your awareness of how much you've eaten until you've gone well past your needs. This is why so many people think they're full an hour later, but it's really their body still working overtime on the rich load it's been given. The heart doesn't get a break in this equation either. Excess saturated fat can influence your blood lipid profile over time, increasing the ratio of LDL to HDL cholesterol. Combine that with the sodium in many marinades and sauces, and you're asking your cardiovascular system to handle more than it should. Think of it as putting your car on a long drive with the parking brake slightly on. It can still go, but it's under more strain. The good news? Small adjustments matter. Swap half the oil for a flavorful vinegar or citrus juice. Use spices to add depth instead of cream. Keep grilling, but aim for golden, not blackened. You're not giving up pleasure, you're just recalibrating the balance between taste and health. It's a slow shift, almost imperceptible at first. You go from enjoying chicken a couple of times a week to making it your near daily staple. After all, it's lean, it's versatile, it's better than red meat, right? And at first, you're probably right. But over time, the small indulgences, keeping the skin, adding a bit more oil, enjoying that creamy sauce begin stacking up in ways you don't immediately feel. That's the quiet creep of weight gain. I've seen it happen countless times. Someone swears their diet hasn't changed much, yet their waistline tells another story. And when we break it down, it's not that they're eating wildly unhealthy foods, it's that the cumulative effect of subtle choices has tipped the scale, literally. You might start your week with a roasted chicken thigh and some vegetables, healthy, satisfying. Midweek, there's leftover chicken, so you shred it into a sandwich with mayonnaise. On Friday, it's chicken curry with coconut milk. On Sunday, maybe chicken wings during a football game. None of these meals seem bad in isolation, but taken together, they often involve more calories, more fat, and more sodium than your body can burn off, especially if your lifestyle is more desk chair than hiking trail. Here's a light-hearted analogy. Think of your weight like your favorite sweater. You don't notice when it starts to stretch a little here and there, but one day, you put it on and realize it's not sitting quite the same. That's what slow weight gain does. It sneaks past your awareness until it's obvious. The real challenge is that chicken's reputation as a diet food makes it easy to overeat without guilt. You're far less likely to second-guess a second helping of roasted drumsticks than you would a second burger. But remember, protein still carries calories, and when it comes packaged with extra fat skin, oils, sauces, those calories can pile up fast. I had a client who loved grilled chicken wraps. Seemed innocent enough until we calculated her weekly intake. Between the tortilla, cheese, mayonnaise-based sauce, and the chicken itself, often marinated in oil, each wrap hit 700 calories. She was having one almost every lunch. She was not for the packend, it said, and ready for the tellery lunch. They have the tellery lunch that it cames of the troop outer. She was having one botter. Multiply that by 7 days, and she was consuming nearly an extra day's worth of calories each week just from her healthy lunch. And it's not only about weight. That slow creep of fat intake can subtly alter your cardiovascular risk profile. Your blood pressure might inch upward, your cholesterol might shift, and before you know it, your annual checkup comes with a raised eyebrow from your doctor. There's also the restaurant effect. In many European cities, chicken dishes at cafes and bistros are generously portioned and generously dressed. A single serving could easily be twice what you'd cook for yourself at home. Add a glass of wine and some bread, and you've just doubled the energy of the meal without thinking twice. The body isn't great at handling a steady surplus. If you consistently eat more than you burn, it stores the extra often around the midsection. This type of fat, known as visceral fat, doesn't just sit there quietly. It can increase inflammation, affect hormone balance, and make your heart work harder. Think of it as adding insulation to a house that already has enough. It doesn't improve function. It just makes things feel more cramped. A funny moment from a cooking demo I once gave. I asked participants to serve themselves a normal portion of chicken and sides. Most filled their plates until the food nearly touched the rim. Then, I quietly brought out a scale and weighed each serving. Without fail, they were 1.5 to 2 times larger than the recommended portion size. We all laughed, but the point hit home: our visual sense of enough can be way off. The tricky part is that weight gain from chicken-heavy diets doesn't feel dramatic. You don't wake up one morning suddenly heavier. It's more like a slow drizzle filling a bucket. It takes a while before you notice it's overflowing. And because chicken feels safe, you don't get the same mental red flag that a stack of donuts might trigger. That's why awareness matters so much. It's not about cutting out chicken. It's about tracking the little extras, the frequency, and the portion sizes. It's about balancing your weekly menu so chicken is part of the lineup, not the headliner every single night. Because when you give your body a variety of proteins, vegetables, and cooking styles, you naturally limit the risk of overloading on hidden fats and calories. And here's the encouraging part. Even small adjustments can reverse that slow gain. Swapping skin-on thighs for skinless breasts a few nights a week, having the oil in marinades, or replacing creamy sauces with fresh salsas can all start shifting the balance in your favor. You don't need a diet overhaul, just a little course correction. Here's where the story turns from caution to balance. Because despite all the hidden fats, calorie traps, and slow weight creep, chicken can still be one of the best allies for your heart and waistline if you approach it with a little strategy. This isn't about avoiding. It's about designing your plate so the pleasure stays while the risks fade. First, think about variety like a wardrobe. You wouldn't wear the same outfit every single day, not just because it's boring, but because it doesn't fit every occasion. The same goes for protein. Mix chicken with fish, legumes, eggs, and lean cuts of other meats. This naturally reduces your weekly chicken load and gives your body a wider nutrient range. Next, portion control without the fuss. In most European dietary guidelines, a single serving of cooked poultry is about the size of your palm, not your hand plus fingers, just the palm. That's roughly 120–150 grams. If you start plating with that in mind, you'll find it easier to build the rest of the meal with vegetables, grains, and healthy fats that keep you satisfied without overloading on one food. Cooking methods matter too, but it's not a prison sentence. You can still roast, grill, and even pan-sear, just tweak the process. Roast chicken with skin for flavor, but remove the skin before eating. Grill to golden instead of blackened. Use oil as a seasoning, not a soaking liquid. Think of oil like perfume. A little makes everything better. Too much overpowers the whole experience. One of my favorite tricks? Build sauces from vegetables instead of cream. A slow-cooked tomato and red pepper blend with garlic and herbs tastes rich without being heavy. Or use yogurt-based dressings for that creamy texture with a fraction of the calories and saturated fat. The first spoonful might feel lighter than you're used to, but your palate adapts faster than you think. And let's talk frequency. Eating chicken once or twice a week with care won't threaten your heart or weight. It's the daily habit, especially with skin, rich marinades, and generous sides that tips the balance. Treat chicken like a special guest at your table, not the permanent resident. This makes each time more enjoyable and reduces the long-term load on your body. Of course, balance doesn't mean joyless eating. One of the best parts of food is the shared experience. A Sunday roast with friends, complete with crispy skin and buttery potatoes, is a tradition worth keeping. The trick is what happens on Monday through Saturday. If those days lean toward lighter, fresher preparations, your body can handle the occasional indulgence just fine. I remember one couple I worked with in Belgium who adored chicken cordon bleu, breaded chicken stuffed with ham and cheese. We didn't cut it out. We simply made a smaller version and paired it with a big salad instead of fries. They told me it tasted even better because they knew it wasn't sabotaging their goals. Sometimes balance isn't about giving up, it's about making a dish fit your life instead of your life fitting the dish. And now, as we slow this story down, picture yourself in a warm kitchen. The scent of roasted herbs drifts through the air. Outside, the light is fading into a soft, golden hue. You've got a plate in front of you with just enough chicken to satisfy, colorful vegetables filling most of the space, and maybe a little grain on the side. The meal feels complete, not because it's perfect, but because it's enough. Eating like this, you're not fighting your food. You're letting it nourish you, delight you, and leave you lighter both in body and in spirit. And you realize something important. The goal isn't to fear chicken or obsess over every gram of fat. It's to know your choices, so each one moves you toward health instead of slowly pulling you away from it. So, the next time you hold a fork over that glistening piece of chicken skin, you'll remember this conversation. Maybe you'll eat it, savor it, and smile. Maybe you'll pass this time. Either way, the decision will be yours, not a habit you never questioned. That's the quiet kind of power that keeps both your heart and your happiness intact. Goodbye, see you in the next video.